Good morning, Rabbi Isai. I always use Shavuos as the opportunity to learn a little bit of Hilchos Yom Tov, simply because with the other Yom Tovim, it's often very difficult to spend time on Hilchos Yom Tov itself because we're so busy with all the other mitzvahs hayom. Before Pesach, we're busy with Inyonei Pesach, Matzah, Seder night, and everything that comes together with that. Before Sukkot, of course, Sukkot is one of the busiest times. We've got Elul, Yom Noraim, preparing for Tshuva, doing Tshuva, and then you've got, of course, Sukkot and Dalet Minim, and everything that comes together with that. Chol HaMoed, there's just so much. Often, to spend time on Hilchos Yom Tov itself is quite difficult when the other Yom Tovim comes to Shavuos. Obviously, apart from different recipes of cheesecake and various things, which is obviously very important, I'm not putting that down chas v'shalom, but what else is there to learn apart from Limud HaTorah, Mitzvahs Hayom? That's the whole Yesod of the Gavaldige Yom Tov of Shavuos. But we have a wonderful opportunity to spend one day, one share, on the Inyonim of Yom Tov, Hilchos Yom Tov. Now I must tell you, Hilchos Yom Tov is huge. You know, just go to a Mishnah Berurah and you'll have a look. Siman after Siman after Siman. Come out, half a chelek in Mishnah Berurah is dedicated to Hilchos Yom Tov. It's not the type of thing you could just fly through right before Shavuos, but it's definitely something which I think is worth mentioning. I'm going to try and pick the various points in halacha that are at least most negea to us and many, many people. I'm not going to cover everything. I'm not going to give the reasons for everything. I'm not going to give the ma'amakomis for everything, but at least we can have a little bit of an idea of what Hilchos Yom Tov is, even if it's not negea mamish to us on a day, this Yom Tov, because maybe we're not cooking and whatever, but it's negea for the future. These are things that we have to know. So first of all, we have to know like this. There are two reasons why melacha on Yom Tov is be'etzem asa, right? Again, contrary to popular belief, melacha is not mutter on Yom Tov, it's asa on Yom Tov. Everything is what we say at Lashon HaChavetz Chaim. Everything is guilty until proven innocent. That means it's not the pshat, it's Yom Tov, you can do whatever you want. Chas v'shalom, nishtar zazach. Same thing with second day Yom Tov as well. The only real difference between first day and second day is what? Refuah, taking medication. That's the only real difference between Yom Tov day number 1 and Yom Tov day number 2. That's the only real difference. But that we'll talk about maybe we'll get to that. I don't know if we will. But there are two main reasons why melacha is asa on Yom Tov. The Chinuch brings this very clearly, mitzvah shin tes vov. The Chinuch says there are two reasons. Reason number 1 is we want people to be free from melacha, so they will be able to concentrate on the Gavaldige Nisim that the Rabbeinu Shalom did on that Yom Tov. Every Yom Tov obviously carries within it tremendous Nisim, all the things that the Rabbeinu Shalom did for Klal Yisrael, whether it's this Yom Tov of Ma'amad HaSinai, whether it's Yitzias Mitzrayim on Pesach, whether it's the Nanei Kovod and everything else, Gabi Sukkos. Every Yom Tov has its Nisim. If we were busy doing melacha, Mamela, we wouldn't think of it. So the Rabbeinu Shalom Zuk the Chinuch gave us a situation where we don't have melacha, so that we will be able to spend time on thinking and contemplating and obviously giving Hayshvach Vahidah to the Rabbeinu Shalom for the Gavaldige Nisim that he did. That's number 1. And the second one, which I think is Gavaldig, very negea v'shruas, Zuk the Chinuch, is to be Isaac in Limud HaTorah. Poshet. With no melacha, there's not much you could do. Not much you could do. So pick up a sefer, go learn something. Okay, it's another reason for Chol HaMoed and everything else. Now, Gavaldik. The pasuk in the Torah tells us, we have this twice, Shemois Shebeis Vayikach of Gimel, Kamalocho lo ye'oseh bohem, acha she'ye'ochel lochol nefesh hu levada ye'oseh lochem. Okay, so this is the makar for much of the Inyonim of Yom Tov, because we have something called Oichel Nefesh. Oichel Nefesh basically means it's a special heta that we have on Yom Tov that we do not have on Shabbos, that certain melachas will be mutter to be done on Yom Tov, which will normally be asa on Shabbos, simply because of Oichel Nefesh. If we would define the Oichel Nefesh term, I guess we could define it as something which is done for generally food preparation and the like, that's necessary for Shabbos. However, it has to be shova l'chol nefesh. In other words, yes, we do say that a person is allowed to do a melacha, and we'll give some examples. L'tzoyrech oichel nefesh, literally for food preparation, but it has to be a melacha that is shova l'chol nefesh. That's equal for everybody. I'm not going into it now, but obviously that's where the shaila of smoking comes in, because smoking obviously is a melacha, and is that melacha mutter l'tzoyrech oichel nefesh? Yes, but has to be shova l'chol nefesh. Is smoking something that's considered to be shova l'chol nefesh, that's equal for everybody, or not? Again, that will depend on the situation and the posik that you ask and whatever it may be that we're not going into. What you do have to know, that there is a difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov, legabi the punishment. On Shabbos we know if a person, Rachman Litzlan, does a malacha on Shabbos, he's chayiv skila for such a thing, obviously with Eidim v'chole v'chole, but avada, the punishment is skila. When it comes to Yom Tov, if a person, chas v'shalom la'aleinu, does a malacha on Yom Tov, so he's chayiv malchus, and if he's done it b'shegeg, he doesn't even have to bring a korban, he has to do tshuva. So the punishment on Yom Tov is slightly different, but that doesn't mean it is not as chomor as Shabbos Kodesh. I'm not going to go into now the sugya of oichel nefesh and what is included and what's not included, because obviously that's a difficult situation to understand. What are the parameters, the gedorim of oichel nefesh? But do understand this, and this is the introduction, that malacha on Yom Tov is be'etzem asa. However, there are terim for an oichel nefesh, for something that is for food preparation, that Chazal understood, and obviously it comes from the Torah, that a person needs to prepare food on Yom Tov, and without so he wouldn't be able to eat normal hot food on Yom Tov. Maybe they will make it for a person to, for example, cook. Right? Let's just make that example. Right? Everyone knows you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov. Why are you allowed to cook on Yom Tov? It's also on Shabbos because it's oichel nefesh. It's something that needs to be done for food preparation, for eating purposes, for covered Yom Tov, and therefore it is mutter. Now let's move to some of the shaylas that could be negeya over here. I'll just to give you a small list of some of the melachas that are actually mutter, obviously with an oichel nefesh and shavuot oichel nefesh situation, is losh bishul shoichet maven hoitzah. It's interesting. Shoichet is mutter, which means Chazal allowed the person to shecht on Yom Tov, because otherwise if you weren't able to shecht, where are you going to get meat from? How are you going to eat, right? Then you can cook it afterwards, you could roast it afterwards, and you're allowed to shecht it to begin with, right? So they asked Reb Shlomo Zalman, we're not going to go into this, but they asked Reb Shlomo Zalman, if you're allowed to shecht on Yom Tov, l'tzoyrech Yom Tov, why can't I kill a mosquito that's in my room bugging me and I can't fall asleep? L'maisa, it's the malacha of shoichet, and it's the tzorech Yom Tov. There should be no reason why it's asa to kill a mosquito on Yom Tov. It's a shchita. And also we have a sugya which we're not going into, the Gemara in Beitza, betoich, right? Once it's mutter, l'tzoyrech oichel nefesh, it's also mutter, but that we're not going into, that we're not going to explain, but Akopanim we paskin that it's asa for reasons that we're not going to go into. Discussing something like boira. Boira, for example, is a very negeya malacha on Shabbos for sure. We're learning it now in the Chabura, Baruch Hashem, but also on Yom Tov. Are you allowed to do boira on Yom Tov? Is it the same? Is it not the same? So let me give you like this. Again, I'm being bekatze in a very small way, simply to try and cover as much as we can. There are three madregas to boira on Yom Tov. Okay, this is the sugya and beitza, yudaladim at base. We have an Issa D'Oraisa, there's boira on Yom Tov, that's an Issa D'Oraisa. We have a boira on Yom Tov that should have been done before Yom Tov, and if you didn't do it before Yom Tov, do it with the shinoi in an unusual, non-normal fashion. And number three, that's a boira that's mutter lachatchila on Yom Tov. Very quickly to go through it, because the Machlokes Rishonim, it's an unbelievable, beautiful sugya, but we're not going to learn it right now. I'm going to give you the maskana. The maskana is like this, that anything that is normally done on a big scale is boira D'Oraisa, even on Yom Tov. So the example to that, say the poskim, is sifting flour. Sifting flour is something that's normally done on a big scale, and therefore to do that on Yom Tov will be an Issa D'Oraisa. Next, what about something that could have been done before Yom Tov and it would have achieved the same results? Nothing would have changed. You could have done this before Yom Tov and nothing would have become less fresh or whatever it may be. So the halacha is that if it could have been done before Yom Tov, it's famous Magen Avram, you should have done it before Yom Tov. If you didn't, then make sure you do it with the shinu. One of the examples, by the way, is let's say setting the table. Let's say Yom Tov night, right? You could have done it Erev Yom Tov and you didn't do it, right? So why are you doing it wrong? Why are you separating the fork and the knife and the spoon? Or why, for example, are you separating the toys? Or why are you separating the clothing and the ties and the socks? And all these things that could be boira. You could have done this before Yom Tov. It would have achieved the same results. Nothing would have been damaged, right? It would have been as fresh and as good. But you didn't, therefore do the shina. By the way, the shina over here is very simple, the be'alach and tovkuf yud, which is that take the oichel from the psoiles, as opposed to psoiles from the oichel, which you normally would do in a situation of boira. You would take the bad guy from the good guy. Over here you take the good guy, and that's considered to be a shinoi legabe Yom Tov. And then there is more negayah to ask the mutter lechatchela boira, the type of boira on Yom Tov which is absolutely mutter, which on Shabbos is chas v'shanu chayiv skira for such a thing, or on Yom Tov would be okay. What would that be? Anything that would not be able to have been done before Yom Tov and achieve the same results. One of the famous examples is a tea bag, right? Obviously you're allowed to dip a tea bag into a klivishin, into a klisheni, there's no problem with bishul. However, taking it out and letting it, dry out and all the liquid come out. On Shabbos that will be chayv skila. It's boira doraisa with a kli. On Yom Tov that is mutar lechatchila. Why? Because I could not have done this before Yom Tov and achieve the same results. I couldn't make my tea erev Yom Tov. It doesn't work. I need to make it on Yom Tov itself. Same din would be with a perforated spoon or an apple corer, a peeler. All of these things people don't realize, right? Sometimes people say, if you learn halacha, everything's asa, everything. Forget. The more halacha you learn, the more you find things are mutter. You find that amaratzim and halacha machmer on things that they don't have to be machmer because they have no idea. It's very nice. So we can Baruch Hashem be making and things because we know halacha, right? So one of those things is, I remember a guy coming over to me after years of being married. Years. This guy was in Koilol. And he says to me, I wanted to just check with you. My wife said to me, I told her chas v'sholem, but I told her I'll check. You're not to peel on Yom Tov. I said, what do you mean? Of course you're allowed. Really? For years I've been telling her, Shem Mirachim. When you learn halacha, you get to do kulas, you get to do things that are actually mutter, not the chumras that you think are also because you don't know halacha and you're nama oritz. That's not my fault. Akaponim, any boira that can be done on Yom Tov is a boira that lemaisa is mutter lechatchila because it could not have been done before Yom Tov. For example, let's say eating the heilige heding. You're eating that fish, and there's bones in there. Chas v'sholem, a guy on Shabbos Kodesh would take out the bone. Hashem, you know what you do, right? Like you would take him to the second story and. That's what we do. On Yom Tov, it's mutar lechatchila. There's absolutely no problem with him taking out the bones on Yom Tov. Why? Again, it's boira, but it's a normal thing to do. It could not have been done before Yom Tov. Memela, it is mutar. Again, Rabbi said we could spend an entire share talking about boira and Yom Tov, but I want to move on a bissel. Let's move on. Okay, very important, Rabbi said. Mishnah Berurah Tovkov Yudches tells us it's a tazbach because we're showing him what's the din of lighting a fire on Yom Tov. So lighting a fire on Shabbos is obviously one of the lamatas malachas. Right, Ma'aviv, but when it comes to Yom Tov, it's actually very, very different. And over here, the reason over here is it's an issur of moilid, Shulchan Aruch Tov Kuf Beis. It's an issur of moilid. Moilid means to create something brand new that was never there. So to create a new flame that wasn't there by striking a match or whatever it's called on the lighter thing, whatever it is, that is considered to be a problem of moilid on Yom Tov and must not be done. That's why we're all famously familiar with the idea of taking a match or a candle and putting it in another candle and igniting it from there. That's fine, because that's taking it from a pre-existing candle, pre-existing fire. You're not making a brand new flame, and therefore it is okay. Increasing the fire on Yom Tov, for example, on a gas stove, if you want to make it higher, there's obviously no problem with that. That is fine. Putting it out, extinguishing, which means obviously even putting out a fire or even lowering the flame on a gas range or something similar to that, is lemaisa, pashtus, extinguishing is asa, right? The Shulchan Aruch tells us in Tov Kuf Dalet Sifalev that extinguishing is asa on Yom Tov, that we know. However, the Ramah says in Tov Kuf Yud Dalet that if lemaisa, the food is going to get burnt, then you're allowed to lower the flame that's on the gas because my food is going to get burnt. Zog the Poskin, the Minchas Chitzkok and others, that's very nice, the Ramah, but that's only if you don't have another flame to light. But if you could take off the pot and light another flame, obviously in a heter oifen, that's lower, then you have no heter of the Ramah to lower that flame because you could light another one that is automatically lower. Is everybody with me? However, Rav Moshe Lemaisa, Rav Moshe held Nishtazor, Rav Moshe held Nigus Moshe could be makel, and you can lower the flame on Yom Tov if it's going to prevent the food from being burnt, even if you have another one, another gas thing that you could light and would make it lower. Rav Moshe Lemaisa is makel over there. By the way, an eitzah to put out the flame on Yom Tov, I'm not suggesting this one, and whenever I give this eitzah, I always say you have to ask your wife because I don't want to get involved in the Shalom Bayis issue afterwards. But this is one of the eitzahs is you could do a groma. How do you do a groma? You fill up a pot with water and you put it on the gas with kavana that you are going to use some of that water for a coffee or tea or something like that, because you have to use some of the water that you heat up, obviously. Can't just heat up water. You fill it all the way to the brim, smallest pot you can, fill it all the way to the brim and let it boil. And when it boils, it bubbles. And when it bubbles, it goes all over the place. When it goes all over the place, it puts out the fire. When it puts out the fire, it can switch off the gas. There's no eitzah in that. That's the eitzah. Again, Rabbi said, I'm not giving you that eitzah unless you ask your wife permission to do that, because it will make a mess and it will cause all sorts of mess. But if you want to put it out, which is the game when you've got kids there, and you don't want the kids to touch the fire and whatever, so then that would be the eitzah over there. By the way, this heter of putting up and down fires may not apply to ovens, electric ovens, simply because they have coils in them. The coils are considered to be fire. Rambam famously tells us that, and therefore, if that's the case, when you put up the temperature on an oven, you could be lighting and igniting more coils that were not previously lit, and that would be called making a brand new eish, which Avada is asa. It's not like just putting the flame a little bit higher. So you have to be careful when it comes to putting a gas and making it higher temperature, that's obviously going to be problematic. Another heter, by the way, that often people don't know, and people just don't know how to use these. It's not even a teim. When I say a teim, I don't mean a teim. Clapping the world, everyone thinks this is asa. Those are the people that don't know in halacha. What can I do? I'm saying just remain at Amoritz your entire life. I can't help you. Very simple. And that is opening an oven door. All right, we know on Shabbos Kodesh, opening an oven door can only be done if the element is on, thus not causing it to go on Shabbos Kodesh, even though it's a grama. Al Kaponim on Yom Tov, it's mutter. On Yom Tov, you're allowed to open up the oven door whenever you want, even if it's going to cause the cold air to go in, and therefore the thermostat to be affected, and therefore the temperature to be changed, and therefore the element to go on. That is fine on Yom Tov. Again, Rabbi, as I said, to go and explain every single one of these things is not negaya, but I just want to tell people things that unfortunately people don't even know that are mutter, that are actually mutter on Yom Tov, just because they never learn halacha. There's nothing I can do about it. Vaita hachona on Yom Tov. To be meichin, we spoke about yesterday, the idea to do hachona from Shabbos to Yom Tov. Avada, that's also. But there's another part of hachona which is negaya, and that is when you have a 2-day Yom Tov, to prepare from 1 day Yom Tov to the next day Yom Tov is avada asa. So, for example, cleaning up the table, washing the dishes, setting the table, taking out the challah, putting the drinks in the fridge, putting the food on the hot plate. All of these things that I want to do on Yom Tov afternoon, so that when the second night Yom Tov comes in and I want to eat my suda, I have hot soup, and I have defrosted challah, and I have a set table, and all of these things. But we all know that you cannot prepare from 1 day of Yom Tov to another day of Yom Tov, right? That's asa. However, I will tell you that there are 2 important heterim over here. Heter number 1, Gemara in Beitza Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, and that is riboy b'shiurim. Riboy b'shiurim means I can cook more and let there be leftovers. So, for example, let's say, right, we'll just make a simple idea. I need to make a soup on Yom Tov afternoon for the Suda of that day. So I put on a soup, and what I do is I put on an extra large soup. This way, the leftovers will be for tonight's Suda, and will already be done. That's fine, because I'm making it for today, and something is being left over for tomorrow. I'm doing ribui shurim. I'm doing more. I'm cutting more cucumbers or more carrots, or whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm making a bigger salad so that I'll have more for tonight. That's fine. I can't make a salad for tonight because it's obviously Yom Tov today, and tonight Yom Tov is a different night. But I can prepare in that way called ribui shurim. That is okay. Mr. Bruce says, by the way, Tov Kuf Gimel Sikot Vav. Don't say that you're doing it for the. Don't say, "Oh, I'm making more so that I can have for tonight." That you shouldn't do. But just do it memela, and it happens. Ribui shurim is okay. Heter number 2. Also, Rabbi says something which is just unknown. I feel bad, Pashut. I get emails from people. I wrote this in the pocket. Halacha says, "Really? Are you sure that it's okay?" Just because, again, Rabbi said, just because it's not my fault that people are Amoratz and never learned halacha before, and they're busy with Noshon Nezikin the whole time, and when it comes to Yom Tov, they're stuck with all the chumras that they think is really halacha l'maisa when it's not, because they're Amoratzim. Again, Rabbi said, what can I do? I can't help you. But I will tell you this gavaldiga din, and that is, you look this up yourself, it's a Chai Odom Kufna Gimel, and the Chai Odom says like this, he's talking about a wine cellar, where if a person had a wine cellar, and so what happens is, in order to get wine for Kiddush, he's going to have to send someone after davening to be able to get the wine to make Kiddush. It's going to cause a huge delay, the guests, Yom Tov, it's not geschmack. So what does he do? A Yom Tov afternoon, day number 1, he wants to be able to take the wine out or get it ready in order that by tonight he'll be able to have it. So the Chayodom Paskins it's mutter, as long as it's not recognizable that you are doing it for the end, for the next day, for the night. So let me give an example. You need to take out challah from the freezer for tonight's Suda, right? We're holding by the afternoon of Yom Tov number 1. For tonight's Suda, Yom Tov number 2, I need to go along and take out challah so it defrosts, right? So the din is that if you take it out early enough, that it's not recognizable that you are doing it. In other words, it's not 10 minutes or half an hour before Shkia. Everyone knows you're not eating it now, you're using it for tonight, that's asa. But if you're taking it out early enough, and what you're doing is not be'etzem a malacha, right? There's no malacha of taking a challah out of the freezer. Obviously, there's no boira involved over there. In fact, with Shlomo Zalman at the Moedik Esfor, Shlomo Zalman said, I'm not even doing anything. What am I doing? I'm taking the challah away from its cold surroundings. No, I didn't do anything. It's not really called a malacha. And if it's not a malacha, and it's a ma'isa achona that's not recognizable done for the next day, and it's very necessary that if I don't do it, it's going to cause a delay, then it will be mutter. So for example, theoretically, the same would be really with the soup. If you want a soup for tonight, and you put it on, and you put it on early enough, and you serve the kids. Kids, maybe it's fine again. You need the kids sometimes Yom Tov afternoon, or late in the afternoon before the next day. You need to serve the kids some soup. That's for sure going to be mutter. Then you leave it on for tonight. That's for sure okay. But if it's not recognizable that what you're doing is, that would be different because that's mamash malacha. But akaponim, taking things out the freezer, taking your machzah home, all of these things which you're not allowed to do for one day to the next day, for sure, if it's not a malacha, then it's going to be mutter as long as it's done early enough that it's not recognizable. If it is a malacha, then what you should do is, like for the case of the soup, you should eat something from it, or give the kids from it, and then you're for sure okay, and that will be the heta in that case. And the same din would also be applying to other ma'ases achana, which we're not going to go into. Again, Rabbi, I told you we're skimming over these halachas, Pasha, just to give a bit of ideas. Another couple of halachas that are nageya is rechitza. Contrary to popular belief, once again, people think there's a heter you're allowed to have a shower on Yom Tov. I would really pay a lot of money for somebody to go over to the shelf and open up one of the Heilige Sfarim and show me in Shulchan Aruch. I haven't found it yet, but maybe you guys will find it for me, where it says you're allowed to have a shower, a hot shower with hot water on Yom Tov. I don't know. Afterwards, maybe we'll go over. Maybe someone can show me where they found it. I didn't find it yet. All I know is that the Shulchan Aruch paskins very clearly when it comes to rechitza, when it comes to heating up water, then be'etzem, to heat up water on Yom Tov for the tzorech of a hot shower is asa. Why? Because again, let's make the cheshbon. How do we start the share? We said you're allowed to do a malacha that's oichel nefesh. Heating up water is an oichel nefesh malacha. Why? Heating up water is bishul. Bishul is mutter on Yom Tov. But we said it has to be dova hashava l'chol nefesh. 1 second, it has to be something that is equal for everybody to do. This, according to the Maran Shulchan Aruch, it is not shava l'chol nefesh to have a full body shower with water that was heated up on Yom Tov. That's poshet. That is clear in Shulchan Aruch. Nobody can argue that. Anyone that does is a total Amoritz because he doesn't know Shulchan Aruch. Article, translation, and taich of the Shulchan Aruch is clear that way. What you could do is the following. People ask, what do I do? So, until you go to Eitzah, guide to mikvah. But if you don't want to do that, for example, you could do as follows. First of all, we're all familiar with the Be'elach and Shin Chav Hey. Everybody knows that even on Shabbos Kodesh, if a person is B'tzar, he went to the Tish Friday night, Pasha comes like schwitzing, and he has the Avos Hashem and his Slavos to the Rabbeinu Shalom after seeing the Rebbe. It's moyedik. He comes back, he needs to have a shower. Pasha, I can't go to sleep, I can't daven, I can't learn, I can't do anything. So as Yid is in Tzar, so even on Shabbos Kodesh, he could have a cold shower. Obviously, being careful that he's not being over in any of the Yisurim of schita with your hair and mamachik with the soap bar or something similar to that, or with the sponges and all these things. I've added this we don't use. But upon him, if a person is b'tzar, you're allowed to have a cold shower even on Shabbos Kodesh. A cold shower on Yom Tov to have a cold shower if a person is b'tzar be mutter. So right? So the shaila is, what about the hot water? So Rabbi, I'm going to get myself into hot water if I start mentioning different hot water boilers and different systems that they have. But I know in yeshiva, first of all, it's not so negay because you have to do something electric. But let's say, for example, it was on from before Yom Tov, and let's say it's still hot from before Yom Tov, which could be. Sometimes it keeps hot in that dud, in that container, in that whatever it's called, in the boiler, for a long time. But here's the problem that guys don't chap. Okay, here's the problem that guys don't chap, and that goes again. I'm not discussing all boiler systems. I don't know boiler systems. I have no idea, but I do know what happens over here in yeshiva is that it's a big dud, and by the way, most places in Eretz Yisrael is exactly the same, and it's not a dud shemesh over here. Other places maybe it's a dud shemesh. That if you have a dud, you have two pipes, right? I guess I don't know if you do know or don't know, but I spent a bit of time figuring these things out. You have two pipes that go in, one at the top, one at the bottom. Now we all know that heat rises. Therefore, in this cylinder, in this dud, is going to be a dud generally of fully hot water. That's what it is. It's got two pipes. The pipe, when you open up the hot water, comes out from the top. Why? Because heat rises and the hottest water is obviously on the top, so the hot water comes in. Now it needs to be replaced because obviously if the next guy that wants to have a shower also wants to have hot water. So what they do is that from the bottom comes in the cold water and that gets mixed up. So what guys don't chap is, I'm going to ask somebody else to put on the switch. That's very nice, but the problem is when you put on the hot water and you have the hot water on, you are causing cold water to go into the dud, be mixed up with the hot water, which is bishul shalolit sorex dava hashava hashava l'chol nefesh, and therefore it's going to be also according to the Shulchan Aruch, the same Shulchan Aruch that says to put on tefillin every day, the same Shulchan Aruch that says to read the Megillah on Purim, same thing, same Shulchan Aruch, same author, Rabbi says, same Rabbeinu Shalom, same religion. Be careful, Rabbi says, when it comes to that. What you could do is have, as I said, a cold shower for sure. What I suggest is you could put it slightly, very slightly, on the warm side, so that it's not freezing cold, that it's got a little bit of a lukewarm to it. The reason for that is a long distance that I'm not going to go into, is that you're not causing enough cold water to go in, and therefore it's not a situation that's going to heat up. So you can make it very slightly warm, and again, make sure that you don't have a situation where you're washing your whole body, unless you're B'tzar, then you can obviously do that, that's not a problem. But if you're not B'tzar and you still want to have a shower, say Nachanami, so then you can wash the minority of your body, right? 49% of your body can be washed, or Eva, limb by limb, but as long as your whole body is not being washed at the same time, unless a person again is B'tzar, they can have either a cold shower or make it very slightly on warm, as long as that is not going to set off. And again, this could be Negea if you're not in the Shiva and in other places, that sometimes when you put it on the hot water, it actually ignites a flame, which is a whole different sugya, which obviously is going to be Osir, because that's Moilid, that's Avada Osir on Yom Tov to light a flame, that's Posher. So you have to know how the heating system works where you are before you even think about having a shower. But again, just note that the Shulchan Aruch does say to have a shower on Yom Tov for the full body is not Dava Hashava L'chol Nefesh, and nobody since the Shulchan Aruch that I have seen, and I would challenge anybody to find me someone that argues with that. Nobody has the guts to take that page of Shulchan Aruch, rip it out, and just put it slowly in Geniza, and hopefully nobody will ever know of it again. Nobody can do that. Not one of the Gedolei Poskim ever said, not the way Fakir. You know what they say? That a person says, what do you know? Have a shower every day. You're right, you're an Istanist. That's the reason for the halacha in the first place. That's the reason why you can't have a shower, because you have Istanists out there that are extra sensitive, and Memeda, that's why they have to have a shower every day. Rabbi say, last thing for today, Simchas Yom Tov, we know it's a Mefurish song, V'ayisa Ach Sameach. You have to be B'simcha. The Heilige Vilna Gaon said it's one of the hardest mitzvahs and Taryag mitzvahs to perform is the mitzvah of Simchas Yom Tov. To be Mesameach has two parts. Part number one is Be'etzem, to be happy. To be B'simcha, to be Mesameach, that's Gavaldik. Part number two, the Gemara tells us in Psachim, is to do things that cause a person to make Simcha, to have Simcha. Like the Gemara says, buy the wife something nice, buy your kids something nice, buy yourself something nice. Go out and buy yourself something for Yom Tov HaKadosh. It's Gavaldik, it's one of the hardest mitzvahs and Taryag mitzvahs. It's a beautiful mitzvah, it's a choshev mitzvah. The Rebbeinu Shalom should give us all siyata d'shmaya to mekayim all the halacha, to be b'simcha, and be'ez Hashem to mekabel the Torah ba'ava.